GolfNewsRI presents the Golf Dudes Podcast. Here are the dudes.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Golf Dudes Podcast. I'm Joe Calabro. Big show today, lots going on. Obviously, it's Ryder Cup weekend, and we're going to get into that. We're going to check in with our friends from Submarine Golf who are at the Ryder Cup. We had a feature on them earlier this week, Islanders at the Ryder Cup. So we're going to check in with them. Quick 10-minute Zoom call. We'll play for you coming up in just a few minutes. We also have a great conversation with assistant pro Samantha Morrell. She works at Warwick Country Club. She also travels the country playing in all different tournaments, including the Women's PGA Championship. So we talked to her. It was a great conversation. So we'll play that for you later in the show as well. So lots to get to, lots going on. And we're going to start with some local stuff first before we get into the Ryder Cup and into the Samantha Morrell interview. Big congratulations to Larry Lafauci, who won back-to-back mid-ams on Wednesday at Quintessa Country Club in Connecticut. So he finished at 2 under par to win by, I think, 2 shots. He was the only player under par in the tournament. So congrats to him. And I had a great phone conversation with him on Wednesday night after he won. And it's pretty interesting. His story is pretty interesting as far as, a few years ago, he really wasn't playing golf. He recently kind of got back into it. His kids are a little older now. And then him and Tommy won the state four ball, and now he's won back-to-back rather than mid-am. So congrats to him. And also Brian O'Leary won the senior mid-am at Quintessa as well. Both of those tournaments were run at the same time. So congrats to both of them. Big wins for them. So there's that. Also, as we posted today on GolfNewsRI.com, congrats to there's still club championships going on, amazingly. But Amanda Parker, the executive director of the Burke Fund, she won the Pawtucket Ladies Club Championship. So congrats to her as well. And a shout out to our guy, Nick Emery, who committed to St. Anselm to play golf next season. Obviously, Nick Emery, St. Ray's star. He's almost single-handedly helped build the St. Ray's golf program in a lot of ways. So congrats to them. So that was kind of the big local news of the day. Or of the week kind of thing. Obviously, the mid-am was a big thing going on. And again, congrats to Larry. As far as the pros, Andrew Larry is set to start stage 1 of Q School in a couple of weeks. I'm working to confirm his location, where he's exactly doing it. There are obviously multiple locations. And then Davis and Patrick are off this week. No Corn Ferry Tour this week, as they are getting set for the Corn Ferry Tour Championship. They both made it inside the top 75, which is great. Patrick made it a little bit more exciting than he was probably hoping for, but he snuck in, so he has full exempt status for next season, as obviously so does Davis. Davis still has an outside chance. I mean, he probably has to win the Corn Ferry Tour Championship, but to get inside that top 30, he didn't make the Sunday charge that I think everybody was hoping for. But he got inside the top 75, exempt status for next season, and they have one more time to go. The Corn Ferry Tour Championship is in a couple of weeks, and we'll obviously have that covered for you when we get there. So with all that said, that's kind of the local stuff going on. And the big story, of course, sweeping the golf world this weekend will be the Ryder Cup over in Italy. And we actually have Rhode Islanders at the Ryder Cup, which is pretty cool. We did a feature on them, as I mentioned earlier in the week. And now we're going to check in with them now over in Italy. Despina Harris and her husband, Cody, better known as for the Submarine Golf brand, submarinegolf.com. We checked in with them from Italy a little while ago. So here's what they had to say. Here's their experience. Here you go. All right, we're super excited to be joined by Despina Harris and her husband, Cody. They're coming to us from Italy, from the Ryder Cup. Islanders at the Ryder Cup. Super cool. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. First off, awesome background. Just tell people here in Rhode Island where you are, where you're doing this interview from exactly in Italy.
Thanks a lot, Joe. Thanks for having us. Right now we're at the Trevi Fountain in the middle of Rome, and it's absolutely stunning and absolutely jam-packed with people. Fantastic atmosphere, a lot of Americans around, and we're looking forward to tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be an amazing day at the Ryder Cup.
We threw a coin in to wish the Americans a win. So
Right.
we should be coming home with the trophy.
That's right. Bring that trophy back home.
We can only hope. So you guys got to Italy earlier in the week. Now,
Yep.
this is quite a dumb question, but obviously you had planned to go to the Ryder Cup. That was part of the trip, or was it just luck-ish?
No. We planned this trip a year and a half in advance. We actually booked our hotel room a year ago. And we decided to break it up. We decided to go in on Tuesday morning, see get up close and personal to the players. I mean, you saw some of the content that I put out there.
Yep.
We were about a foot and a half from Ricky Fowler, and everybody walked right past us. It was terrific. And I think I showed you at one point, Freddie Couples, we were up in the bleachers. We're the only two in the bleachers. The Americans came through late. They weren't scheduled to go through until like 12:30. And Cody and I were the only two in the bleachers. And Freddie Couples walks up and looks up at me and says, "Here you go," and he throws us 2 Gatorades. It was super cool. But I didn't have my phone. I couldn't, it was after the fact. Very, very cool. But then we decided to split the trip up, not go every day to the Ryder Cup, just go Friday for the opening day. And then the weekend, we're going to head to Venice and then come on back home next week.
That's so cool. What was the Ryder Cup experience so far? Obviously, Friday morning is going to be the big thing. And I know you guys have an early wake-up call. You can talk about that, but has it been what you thought it was going to be? Is it better? I mean, I've never been to a Ryder Cup. I have my eyes on Bethpage Black in 2025 or whatever that is. What's the whole experience been like? Obviously, the pictures and stuff you shared were amazing.
Yeah. So honestly, for us, the earlier days were, I think, a much more fulfilling time because you get really close to the players, and it was awesome to watch them. They were in mission mode, right? So people were standing up there with hats and towels and flags, but when they got to the tee, they were in mission mode, and they didn't sign anything until they finished their 18 holes, and then they'd skate for autographs, and at that point we had already gone, but they're absolutely in mission mode. And it was awesome to see Zach Johnson and the other coaches talking about strategy. One thing we noticed and one thing we talked about with the volunteers was that the United States likes a fast green, and the Italians blew the greens out to slow them down. And one of the things that they were doing was putting and throwing balls and seeing where they landed and how fast they would go to the different pin placements. It was really, they were working, quite frankly. They were working hard to get, ready for their challenge.
Yeah, that was really neat to see the players take the different angles to the greens and chipping and seeing how the ball landed. They actually threw out temporary markers where they thought the holes might be pinned throughout the weekend. So it was pretty amazing to watch them go through all the course and try to, do the homework and figure things out.
That's what I have to do. I just start going out in advance and chipping and dropping pins to where the holes could be. That's the key, I think, to my golf, my golf game. Pairings came out on Thursday. Obviously, opening ceremonies for the Ryder Cup were this morning.
Today, yep.
I was surprised that no JT and Spieth in the first session. That was surprising.
I gotta be honest, so was I. I was surprised that they put the rookies out against the seasoned Europeans. And I don't know if it's ambitious or silly or what, but hey, time will tell, right? We'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's either way, it's going to be amazing. We're talking to Despina Harris and her husband, Cody. You can follow them on Instagram at submarinegolf.com or submarine golf, and their website, submarinegolf.com. They have all kinds of cool merchandise, cool submarine head covers. We saw you guys at the Northeast Golf Show, I think 2 years ago now. And that's where we first
that's where we first met.
Cross paths. So super cool. So check them out. We'll also be helping them get their content out there on our website and also on our own Instagram feed, obviously, as well. Tomorrow's the first day, opening tee shot. Tell everybody what you're doing to make sure you get there, hopefully early, for the opening tee shots, which, as we know from watching previous ones on TV, there's nothing like the opening tee shots at a Ryder Cup.
Yeah. So we rented a private car, picked us up at 4 a.m. to drive us to 35 minutes out to the golf course, and we'll be a solid hour early for the first bus that goes out there. to make sure that we get, first in line so we can get that front row view. And we'll be live from that front row view at that first swing of the golf club.
So you're gonna go live on you're gonna be live on Instagram?
Yeah.
All right, I'll make sure.
Actually, Facebook. I think it's Facebook. No, I don't know how to do Instagram. We're gonna do Facebook. Live on Facebook.
All right, that's good to know. I'll definitely keep an eye out for that. Instagram is pretty similar. There's a big live button. You just click it. But yeah, that's awesome. So I'll definitely keep a lookout for that. We'll try to embed the video into our website or whatever of the first tee. I want to get you guys out of here because you guys got early bedtime because early wake up call. But
Yeah, we do.
what
Thanks a lot, Joe.
Yeah, we're gonna hopefully we're gonna try to make it work again tomorrow. Do a quick check in after the session.
Yeah,
but
we sure will.
We'll see how it goes, obviously. But just what's your closing thought as we enter the Ryder Cup? What's predictions? What do you guys think?
We're bringing it back home for the first time since the 90s, Joe. That's what my prediction is.
All right, that sounds awesome. Thank you guys so much for taking a few minutes. Really appreciate it. Go have fun the rest of the trip, and we'll talk to you over the next day or so. But have a great time.
Thanks a lot, Joe.
Thanks, Joe. Hey, remember, rise to the top and sink the competition.
There we go. That's what we need to know. That's Despina Harris and her husband Cody live from Italy at the Ryder Cup as that gets underway in just a few hours from now. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Joe. Bye-bye.
All right, so make sure you follow Submarine Golf on Instagram, and also we'll be posting their stuff on our website and on our Instagram as well for all Ryder Cup content. I know they're pumped to be there early Friday morning for the tee-offs or for the opening tee shots, and that first tee is always electric. And the Ryder Cup is going to be interesting. It's always interesting anyway, but there's certainly plenty of storylines to follow. The Justin Thomas thing, Brooks Koepka, how will Europe rebound from the butt whooping they got 2 years ago at Whistling Straits? I think Europe's going to win. That was my official prediction, I believe. In the I do a monthly column for Southern New England Golfer, and I predicted Europe was going to win 17-11. I just don't have faith in America, in the USA, winning on road soil. They haven't done it in 30 years. It certainly would be a great story if they do. I think the course looks like it could set up okay for them. Sometimes, in these Ryder Cups, they go on the road and Europe kind of tricks out the course and all these kind of things. And it doesn't look like, at least from the coverage that I've watched, it doesn't look like that is necessarily the case. It looks like the rough is not as bad as people are making it out to be. It's kind of graduated rough. So you really have to hit the ball way offline to get into any trouble. So, but again, on the road, you wonder how Wyndham Clark is going to respond. He's been talking all kinds of, I don't say talking trash, but he's certainly been providing bulletin board material in his news conferences this week, saying Europe could be drained, or he wants to beat Rory McIlroy and things of that nature. So you wonder how that's going to play, how Brian Harman is going to react, and also Ricky Fowler. Ricky obviously is a Ryder Cup veteran. He's been there, done that, but it's been a while. He just won for the first time this past year, and so you wonder how all that is going to play out. Everybody talks a good game in practice and in the pressers, and we'll see what happens on the first tee on Friday morning. It'll be interesting to see what the pairings are. I'm imagining Spieth and Thomas would be one of the first, probably the first group out. I would think the U.S. would lead with their top team, at least to get things started on Friday morning. That's just my prediction. You never really know. So it's going to be great. The trickiest part is going to be when to stay up and when to go to bed. I think my plan is, and perhaps you guys have your plans. I think my plan is to stay up Friday and Saturday. We'll stay up tonight, Thursday, into Friday morning and watch the opening tee shots. I think coverage starts at 1:30 a.m. Eastern time on Golf Channel. So I'll stay up, watch the opening tee shots for all the groups. That gets me a couple holes, and then I'll go to bed and wake up and watch probably the end of foursomes, or end of four ball, end of the second session, whatever it is. I think they're starting with foursomes. Second session is 4-ball. So end of 4-ball on Friday morning, and then if I do something similar Friday into Saturday, stay up, then go to bed and wake up kind of for the end. So catch the beginning, catch the end. The tricky part will be Sunday. for Sunday singles because coverage starts at 5 o'clock a.m. Eastern time. I think they tee off at like 5:15 or 5:30 Eastern time, whatever that, somewhere in that time frame. So the interesting thing is, what do you do then? Probably just go to bed early, I'm guessing, or just go to bed at the time I usually go to bed, which is 1 a.m. and wake up 4 hours later to see the opening, to see the start of Sunday singles. It'd be especially interesting to see what people do, or what I do, I guess, if the U.S. has the lead, because then you'd be more inclined to wake up and try to watch it. If U.S. is getting killed, maybe I won't wake up. Maybe I'll just sleep in and watch the highlights, if you will. So that certainly plays a part of it going into Sunday singles. But it should end. The Ryder Cup should end just before football starts on Sunday. So that's always a positive. So it will be fascinating to watch. Again, we'll have the plan is to have Despina and her husband check in on Friday afternoon. After the session is over, they're going to their Friday session, and I think they're coming home this weekend. But the plan is to have them check in quickly Friday afternoon. So hopefully we'll have that for you. Obviously, they're in Italy, overseas. So, if for some reason they can't make it work or we can't make it work, it is what it is. There's only so much they can do, obviously. But hopefully we can do something. That's the plan. So stay tuned for that on Friday afternoon. Earlier this week, I chatted with Samantha Morrell. She's the assistant pro at Warwick Country Club. She's been around the country. She just was inducted into Old Dominion Hall of Fame, and we got a chance to talk to her earlier this week. She's been playing all over. She's been to the LPGA Championship. She's playing the LPGA Professional Championship. She has tournaments coming up down in Maryland, at the State Open in Maryland. So it was a great conversation. I told her the interview was only going to be about 15 to 20 minutes. It ended up being about almost 30 minutes, but it was a great conversation. She gives great insight. It was good to catch up with her, and we'll certainly be following her career as she continues on. So here's my conversation with Samantha Morrell. I hope you all enjoy it. It was some really good stuff. Here it is. All right, welcome back to the Golf Dudes podcast. Joe Calabro here, and I'm delighted to be joined by assistant club pro at Warwick Country Club, Samantha Morrell. Sam, thanks for coming on. Thanks for taking a few minutes out of your busy schedule. How are you doing? Great to talk to you. Thanks for coming on.
Oh no, Joe, thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm very excited to be back home in Rhode Island, be at Warwick Country Club, and talk to you about Rhode Island sports.
Yeah, it's great. We'll get into it, but you've kind of been all over the country in a lot of ways over the last few years. You started here, then you went to Old Dominion, now you're back. We'll get into all that, the whole journey and everything, but just what's it been like to be back in Rhode Island, be back at Warwick Country Club and helping out there? And obviously I know you're putting in a lot of hours, which is kind of how it goes, but what has it been like to be back at Warwick?
Oh, it's been fantastic. Every time I leave Rhode Island, I feel somehow all roads do lead to Rhode Island. Somehow everywhere I go, there's always a Rhode Island connection. Everywhere, everyone says, "Oh, I love Newport. Oh, I love Rhode Island." We all love Rhode Island. And but to be back is truly special and very exciting for me this year, to be back with who I call my people, of people of Rhode Island. So it has been very special because I have been away for some time. So it is really nice kind of having this homecoming type year.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing I like about the coolest thing about Warwick Country Club, obviously it's on the water, but I love the ninth hole. I think the ninth hole is going to be might be the coolest par three. Now, not that I'm very good, but it's going to be the coolest par three in the state. How many birdies do you have on that hole so far?
Ooh, I think either one or I could be birdie free on that hole. That's not an easy one to just be able to say that you've made par. I think that's a pretty big accomplishment. As you know, there's not only do you have the beautiful background of the water on the left side, but there's at least 3 ponds that you have to cover as well. So to get over that ninth hole, for those who may not have played Warwick Country Club, that's what's in store on the ninth hole. You either you'll love it for the view, but it could be pretty tough and challenging.
And there's never not wind. almost never not wind.
Wind is always a factor. Usually it's coming off the water though, so that is helping kind of push things away from the water, so maybe more towards the green if you find yourself going a little left.
Yeah, well, when I go up there and hit a dead shank to the left, we'll see how we'll see how much the wind helps it. As soon as we bring it back. You talked about it briefly. You've been kind of all over. You went to high school. You won 3 straight high school state championships. High school golf state championships. Then you go to Old Dominion and play golf there. You just recently were inducted into the Hall of Fame at Old Dominion this past weekend, I believe. So just back at that time, that was 2007, 2009. Winning 3 straight high school girls championships. Obviously, I don't think it's ever been done before or had been done previously. I could be wrong. And then going to Old Dominion, talk about that and what was it like playing college golf at Old Dominion, coming from Little Rhode Island at that time?
Well, that was very impressive. I enjoyed, playing my high school golf. I actually think, correct me if I'm wrong, might need to research this name, but I think there was a girl from North Kingstown who did all 4 years as state golf champion. I think it was Dara Rittman. I think that's her name. But she was also from North Kingstown, if I remember correctly. But she did win all 4 years in a row as a state champion. I did 3 out of the 4, but she still has the distinction of all 4 and a fellow skipper. That's kind of nice to be from North Kingstown. But I think this is correct. I might need to maybe research all of that part as well. But yes, I did that. I had three high school state titles, which was wonderful. And then at that time, I was also being recruited to play golf for Old Dominion in Norfolk, Virginia, and that proved to be a wonderful 4 years. I met a lot of great teammates that are still friends for life, that even came to my ceremony that I just had here last week. And it's just been really a wonderful experience, better than I ever could have imagined. And doing that all from coming from Little Rhode Island and making the state proud.
And at that time, because now it's now we have, the Davis Chatfields of the world, the Patrick Washers of the world. They all went to kind of big name schools. For you, the process of being recruited by Old Dominion and perhaps other colleges, what was that like at that time? Because Rhode Island golf was in a different place perhaps back then than it is, I would say, now, and we can get into that. But what was that whole process like for you and being recruited, having to shoot good scores? So obviously they don't recruit, crappy players, obviously. But what was that whole process for you like?
Well, I had heard about Old Dominion from another Rhode Island golfer, Greg Sampson, who had played for the university years before I did. He may have graduated in the early 2000s, before I even graduated from high school. But he kind of put the bug out there, and because I hadn't heard much about Old Dominion, he went there and he recommended I look into it. And the recruiting process was tough. I remember, even without a little bit less influence of social media and things like that. So it was more, you had to write letters and just regular emails. There really wasn't following anyone on Instagram, or as you can imagine, there's a lot more media and mediums and ways to communicate now. So that was a little bit different, a little more archaic kind of process. But I reached out to a lot of schools, and some of the best advice I got was, do you want to go to a school where you can play or not play? Some of the bigger schools with more competitive women's golf teams, you might not get a chance to play, or you can go to a place that truly wants you, where you can make a difference and an impact. And I just saw Old Dominion as a place to let my true potential be known and to develop as a player. And I was so grateful for that opportunity. I definitely made the right choice in going there.
I mentioned you were just recently, this past weekend, inducted into the Hall of Fame down there, which is pretty awesome as well. So after Old Dominion, you become a teaching pro, Class A pro, I believe. Was that always something that you wanted to do? Was that always kind of on the radar, or was it just like, hey, I'm actually pretty good at this golf thing, and maybe I can take this further. Do you know what I mean? Like, was that always something that you wanted to do, or was this kind of, I don't want to say a last minute decision, because that certainly wasn't, but was that always something that you wanted to do to turn pro?
Well, I just knew that golf was going to be in my life for a very long time. This really the only thing that I feel comfortable doing is playing golf or being around golf in some way. And I didn't immediately think I was going to be an LPGA or PGA professional. That wasn't immediately on my radar. I was thinking about playing. And then after I graduated, I kind of had that, coming to terms moment and say, okay, am I really willing to put the grind in, put the time in to be playing pro? That the practice schedule, everything was even more, rigorous than what I just left in college, which even that was great. And I definitely improved after being in school and being coached on a team. But even then, I said to myself, is it really something that I want to do? And then I was kind of lost a little bit after that, not really knowing what I wanted to do. But then I worked for the Peggy Kirk Bell Girls Golf Tour, which is out of Greensboro, North Carolina. And, maybe kind of like a full circle moment, what they actually do is they run quality, professionally, nationally ranked tournaments for junior girls only. And the whole purpose is for them to get nationally recognized so they can be recruited to play golf in college. So after I had such a wonderful experience, it was like me being able to help them. And by operating and facilitating these events, they get to now have an opportunity to play golf in college because of the recognition from playing in our tournaments, what that can do for them so coaches can come watch. So I did that for a little bit. And then that's eventually I said, oh, I should join the LPGA and just become a professional if I know I want to be in the golf world going forward. And that's kind of how it happened.
So what's a typical day for you, like whether it's at Warwick or anywhere, just in general? What's a typical day for you? Like, are you teaching? Are you practicing yourself? Are you in the pro shop? What is a day in the life of Samantha Morrell like?
So when I'm here in Rhode Island, I definitely have more of an assistance role, which can be anywhere from being in the shop, running the ladies' days. The ladies have their Thursday tournaments that I set up, and I make all their tea times and just kind of be with them and organize their tournaments. A couple lessons, in between there, and maybe some practice, a little bit at the end of the day, or I come in a little bit early, maybe chip and putt for an hour or so, and then start my day. So here I really am strictly like an assistant. I work for the club and I help with their men's events as well too, their round robin, their member guests. But when I go down to Florida, I also work in Naples over the wintertime in true Rhode Island fashion. We go to Florida too, because I really think Naples in particular is becoming Rhode Island South. There's a lot of members too, even from Warwick, that do go down to the Naples area as well. So there, my day is a little bit different. Whereas I'm strictly just teaching, I am giving clinics, golf schools, lessons. So there's a little bit more time to play, practice, work on the game. A little less demanding than a busy summer schedule would be.
Now you do travel. You played in numerous tournaments that we've written about. You won the Connecticut Women's Open back in June. You played in the LPGA Championship, Epsom Tour, LPGA Professionals Championship. So you're getting your golf in.
Right.
How much did it mean to win the Connecticut Women's Open? And then I want to get into the LPGA Championship, or I guess it's called the Women's PGA Championship now. But either way, what did it mean to win the Connecticut Women's Open? And then, to get that invite to the Women's PGA Championship must have been incredible.
Yes. So the Connecticut Open, I played a lot of years playing in that, and I had always, been close to winning, but never the top. And I was very, very pleased this year. That kind of really got the momentum going and started a really good year. Something else I think that helped was me joining on Titleist staff this year as a professional. That's another opportunity I got through coming back and working at Warwick Country Club, was being put on Titleist staff. That was my first round with my new clubs in a tournament setting. So they're doing pretty good right now. and,
Keep
yeah,
those clubs a little bit longer, I guess.
yes, and fit by a former Rhode Island standout, Tom Spargo. I know we all know that Rhode Island golf team. He's down in Florida now. He's still working on a little smaller basis, but the combination of Tommy and Titleist, I think, was a contributing factor. I mean, how do you say that it wasn't? But no, that was very a fairly special tournament. I played very well and held down on there and made a lot of good putts at that event. And what that also did was it opened the door for me for another opportunity, because the LPGA Epsom Tour, their kind of stepping stone mini tour to the LPGA, was having an inaugural event. It was their first event, the Connecticut, the Greater Hartford Classic. I'm gonna have to look that name up and get it fully correct. But there's a Hartford Healthcare Women's Championship, and it was the first time having a new event in Connecticut. So the tour gave the Connecticut Women's Open a sponsors exemption into that tournament, which I made the cut. My first time playing in an Epsom Tour event, I made the cut with even par, 72-72 for both days. So that was, I think, even personally for an accomplishment of playing, that was equally as special. And then in June, I went to the KPMG Women's PGA Championship at Baltusrol. It was held at Baltusrol this year, and that was my third time playing in the KPMG. I qualified by playing in the LPGA Teachers, their national championship that they held every year, and they take the top 8 qualifiers, top 8 club pros from finishing in that event, who earn an exemption into the KPMG. And I'll also do that again next year for another time when it's at Sahalee in Washington State.
When you go to these professional tournaments, whether it's the LPGA Championship, obviously is on a different level, but just, you know, when you watch these other players play or you play with them, what things do you notice? Like, what jumps out to you when you went to the LPGA? What jumps out to you with seeing some of these professionals that are trying to do this for a living? What jumps out to you? Like, what sticks out?
My gosh, it is just really another level when you are playing to eat. It really becomes a lot different. And when this is your livelihood and these girls are on tour to really just be the best, and it's really dog eat dog and very competitive, and every little thing can give you an edge. They're out there with their TrackMen. They take all of those to the driving range, and they're really working on numbers to a level that is even beyond the level of precision that I would even look at for my own game. But when you're at that level, everyone is so close to being the best. It's what little edge that they can have by looking at those TrackMen numbers, making little adjustments, tinkering with clubs, pulling clubs in and out. It's just the next level of professionalism and playing that we would have never even imagined. And even at the driving range, you can choose which ball that you want. They had Callaways, they had all the Titleist Pro Vs or X's, they had TaylorMades. You can choose which golf ball you wanted, because the golf ball do affect some of the numbers you want to play. And so if you're out there judging, you know, your spin rate, you want to use the golf ball that you're going to use in the tournament. It's next level planning and preparation.
That's the problem with my golf game. See, I'm using the wrong golf ball.
The wrong golf ball. Yes.
Really, that's gotta be the issue. That has to be the issue. How was Baltusrol? Was the course play hard? Was it? I think I watched a little bit on TV. I can't really remember. I watched so much golf. It's like all one big.
Sure.
thing.
No, I understand.
but how was Baltusrol? What was that whole experience like, just in general?
It was wonderful. They were so good to us, hosting us. The staff, everyone was so great. There was not a blade of grass out of place. It was just so well done. Hard and fast fairways, hard and fast greens, just another level, thick rough, everything that could be difficult. It really was punishing mistakes and wary shots. You could not, take a snooze for a second and be off your game, because that course would just chew you up if you ever missed a beat. So very difficult, but also rewarding. Not an impossible golf course, but just you had to be paying attention and on guard the entire time.
When you go to those events, whether it's any of the events that you played in or going to play in, and then you come back, what do you take? Do you take anything from those events? Like, hey, we should, maybe do this differently, or not that you're telling the club what to do necessarily, but just from your experiences, do you take anything from events like that to build off of maybe your own game or your own career?
Well, mostly even on, I would say, where I am at as a club professional, I'm actually mostly looking at the clubs themselves, less kind of like from a playing perspective, but I'm always looking at, what do they offer for practice facilities? How's the pitching area? Is there a green? Is it grass? Is it off the mats? What's in the pro shop? What kind of merchandise do they have? Getting ideas that way. That's where I'm kind of at right now, is I'm looking at it from a club perspective. And even sometimes I can see like people giving lessons. I'm looking at it, getting ideas from other colleagues of mine too in the golf business. What kind of golf schools are they offering? What kind of clinics? What ideas? So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm less looking at it from a true competitive playing perspective, and more, how can we run a even better golf program that we already do? How do we make it even better from being at other clubs and seeing what they do, getting ideas?
Interesting. Yeah, fascinating stuff. A couple more and then we'll let you go. I'm sure you have better things to do.
I apologize.
You started here in Rhode Island, you went away, you came back. I've been saying, I've told everybody this. I talked to Ed Kirby about this a couple of weeks ago at the NEPGA thing at Kirkbury. Golf, I feel like, is in a unique time in Rhode Island. We have 4 kids in the pros at various tours. Welch and Chatfield on the Corn Ferry Tour, Will Dixon grinding on the mini tours, Christopher Encore from URI playing on PGA Tour Canada, or at least he played on PGA Tour Canada this past season. We have other kids trying to make it. Andrew O'Leary is going through Q school right now. He just started, as you've been reporting. And then high school golf is at an all-time high. The tournaments have never been more competitive. It feels like, obviously, Max Jackson is a great storyline. Hendricken is always, they play at Warwick, the Warwick Invitational. The Hendrick Invitational at Warwick, excuse me. And it's just the amateur level, obviously, is in a great spot. But what do you think about where Rhode Island is with golf? What's the state of golf in Rhode Island right now? I think it's just an amazing time. COVID probably helped out a little bit. I think the clubs, it feels like, are all doing great. But what's your sense of, where golf is right now in Rhode Island?
Well, I can speak from, what my experience has been. And like you said, with the pandemic, I think that introduced a lot of new people to golf. I've heard from a lot of places that members that they never even saw, they never even knew they were members, all came out and started playing golf and using those golf memberships that they have. I can say that even at Warwick Country Club, the numbers jumped from, I think they had 170, 175 members to 300. So that's a huge upswing in the amount of people who are playing golf, and that can only be, add to the health and status of the Rhode Island players. I think you're going to even start to see more and more, good golfers come out of Rhode Island and continue to do that. I know Will. I remember Will from junior golf. Will Dixon. He and his father used to be at the Golf Dome. We'd all be practicing at the Dome together. His sister Sarah is a head pro down in Naples, and so I'm very happy for Will, and I love seeing him do well as well.
Women's golf, you were at the start of women's golf, where you won the 3 straight championships. You went to play big time college golf. When you see the girls playing, whether it's in Rhode Island or elsewhere, what is your sense of where women's golf is and how much it's grown, not just in Rhode Island, but just in general?
Well, I think it's always fantastic to see growth. I think one of the biggest things that we can see on a national level too is how they have that Augusta women's tournament now for amateurs. They have an Augusta women's amateur, and now these junior girls that were once my age, I was one of these junior girls too. Now they have the opportunity to play at Augusta the week before the Masters when it's Masters ready. I just remember saying we never had chances to play in tournaments like that. So, but I think it's the people in my age group, my generation, that it was because of them playing golf that it just keeps growing from there, that the numbers continue to grow, and you have strength in numbers. The more people there are, the more junior girls there are, the more opportunities are going to be. And it started for me in Rhode Island with US Challenge Cup. That was the main junior golf tour in this area, and if it wasn't for them, that's how I started playing golf. I never had a membership anywhere. None of my family really played. I had junior memberships after, but I didn't grow up at a club. And really, the only time I got to play on the golf course was when I was playing in Challenge Cup tournaments. So I was always just started, and it was from a competitive standpoint. Was always my rounds on a golf course were Challenge Cup tournaments. So I'm thankful for Dave Adamonis there and all that he does for junior golf.
And of course, him and his family were just, or it was just announced they're going to be inducted into the RI Golf Hall of Fame. So that's awesome. He's been super supportive of Golf News RI as well. Okay, a couple quick hitters, and then we're done. I promise. In your career, the coolest course you've ever played, coolest or best, however you want to take it, the coolest course or the best course you've ever played.
Well, I'll always go back to my favorite courses. I'll say my favorite courses have to be probably in the Pinehurst area. Definitely, I got a chance to play Pinehurst number 2. That was an exciting through my time at the Peggy Kirkbell Girls Golf Tour. But my favorites will always be Pine Needles and Mid Pines. Just with the Peggy Kirkbell, that connection there, and it was actually there at Pine Needles that I met the coach, Pat Cotton, who was the coach at Old Dominion at the time and recruited me. That's where he came out to watch me play a tournament in high school. So it was at Pine Needles. So that place will always be special to me, and they're just some of my favorite golf courses. All Donald Ross courses, which we know in Rhode Island, Warwick Country Club's Donald Ross, and we just love our Donald Ross in New England, Rhode Island, New England, and beyond too, down Pinehurst.
Absolutely. All right, your go-to shot. You need a shot in a clutch moment. What shot are you hitting? What club are you hitting? Obviously, it varies. I understand, but what's your go-to shot? What do you like to hit?
Believe it or not, shots off the tee. I mean, my tee shots, my drivers, I think are probably some of my best statistics are from drivers off the tee. Love an 8-iron. My 8-iron was always my favorite club growing up. And I'd rather sometimes be in the sand and hit a bunker shot than have to do an awkward chip from the rough, because all the girls, when I was playing junior golf, they hated being in the sand. So everyone complained about the sand. Oh, it's tough, it's hard. So I just said, well, I want to be practicing that so that I can have a little edge. So I was going to make the sand my friend and not be worried about the sand. So give me a bunker shot anytime over a chip or a pitch around the green, especially from like a little tight lie. So yeah.
Well, leave me out of the bunkers. I play to avoid the bunkers. So, and then lastly, then we'll let you go. What's next for you? You have any more tournaments on the horizon? I know Florida is in the near future for you, but what's next for you as far as competing and where people can watch you or find you?
Well, I'm going to go down with a friend of mine. We're going to play the Maryland State Women's Open. It's October 23rd and 24th at Worthington Manor, I believe. That's so that we're going to go down there and play. That'll be my probably last one of this year, and then I look forward to some February tournaments. The PGA Women's Stroke Play is at PGA Golf Club in Port St. Lucie. They have that every year, and so those will be my next two. This one coming up next month, and then in February.
Samantha Morrell, thank you so much for taking some time to talk to me. Really appreciate it. Best of luck with everything, and obviously keep us posted as to what you're up to and what you're doing. And certainly, if there's anything that we can do to help you out or bring attention to your golf, we'd obviously be more than happy to do that. Thank you so much for taking some time.
Yeah, sure, Joe. Thanks very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. That's Samantha Morrell. She's assistant pro at Warwick Country Club, so you can find her there for at least another few weeks. And then she's off to the south, like she says, in true Rhode Islander fashion. This has been the Golf Dudes Podcast. We'll be right back. All right, and that about wraps it up for another Golf Dudes Podcast. I know people are getting excited to watch the Ryder Cup. We're only a couple of hours away now. I know, and I think live from the Ryder Cup starts probably an hour before tee off. So that would be fun to watch in and of itself. Watch the crowd build on that first tee. It was like a stadium. It is a stadium on that first tee. So exciting stuff. Good luck to Team USA. Obviously, I hope that I'm wrong, but don't feel good about history. But maybe they'll make history. Maybe they'll be the first team since 1993 to win on the road. So thanks to everyone for tuning in. Have a great weekend. It should be good weather. Hopefully you get some of those last golf rounds in. And we will talk to you next week maybe we'll have the U.S. will still retain the Ryder Cup, but it'll be a major story, or we'll see what happens going forward this weekend. Stay tuned to GolfNewsRI.com all weekend long for Ryder Cup coverage and coverage of everything else going on in the golf world. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.